Welcome back to another edition of Quick Hit Bears. I'm your host, Grayson and Jack. Today, we're talking about Baylor's new star, or at least a guy competing for the star position in AJ McCarty. Obviously, last year, a rough year for AJ. Anyone that watched Baylor football last year can tell you at the cornerback position, he really struggled. There were multiple games where he just looked lost. There was blown coverage assignments, and it really all started one of the first games of the year against BYU when their top two receivers were both hurt, and they came out with a guy named Chase Roberts. And Chase Roberts had by far his most productive game of last season against Baylor, and a lot of it came against AJ McCarty. And then later on in the year, you saw more blown assignments. The Marvin Mims touchdown against Oklahoma is one that just, I think, kind of speaks volumes to what AJ was going through last year, where guys just running right by him wide open because he was having to think so much at the cornerback position. A lot of that's due to Ron Roberts. A lot of that is due to the fact that Baylor didn't run a lot of press coverages last year. So you had to think about where you were supposed to be on every single play. And I think at times he really struggled with that, being on the outside at the cornerback position. So now he's moving to star. He's making that transition. He's from Brownwood, was a really good player coming out of high school, came to Baylor camp, ran in the 4.4s, a very good athlete, explosive, good in track and field, especially jumping events. So there's explosiveness there. Now it's just all about putting it together at a new position, which is the star spot.
Yeah, it's been going great. Actually, I feel more natural at safety because I feel more free. I'm a high energized dude, so I like running around and going to and getting to the ball. And I feel like at corner I was more restricted. Like, this is your guy, this is who you got to be with. Don't have your eyes nowhere else. So I feel like I'm more open and more, free to play.
So I think this is really encouraging. I mean, if you're listening to kind of what he said, just how much more comfortable he feels, and the fact that he's a high-energy guy, so he's wired to really be around the football, I think, and not so much trying to figure out, keeping his eyes on a man and being attached to a man. I think he wants to see everything that's going on around him. And I think moving to the star probably feels really natural for him if he is wired that way, which he said he is. And so I think this takes away some of those restrictions, and like he mentioned, allows him to play a lot more free. And, I mentioned this at the top, but Ron Roberts, I just think really last year there were struggles there with kind of how he was coaching the defense, and the X's and O's of it probably got a little too intense for some of these guys, and it probably needed to be taken back a little bit to the point where these guys were playing free and just playing football at times, and I don't think they got to that point a year ago. But I think in the star position, AJ,
safety,
I think, is feeling like he
had
at
the same
least
people.
has the opportunity to do that now.
Devin Lemire,
he's still in a battle, which we're going to talk about here in a second,
last year,
for playing time. But I just think this is going to allow him to probably utilize his strengths.
But I don't think.
So I mentioned,
honestly, I feel like
a couple guys
we have a
are
higher
going to be
ceiling
battling
this year
for
than we
this
did last year,
position.
for
He and
sure.
Grayson Jackson.
Just because
Baylor returns a couple other guys as well, but of course they also lose some guys too. So let's see what AJ McCarty had to say about that. So it's kind of funny, right? So I think the first part about this is he makes the move to the star position, and he's automatically a leader and a veteran in the room. I mean, it's pretty crazy. He and Bryson Jackson are the two oldest guys in the room right now. You have Devin Lemire, who played the most minutes last year at the safety spot, at a safety position. So those three guys are your natural leaders, but it's just kind of funny that AJ was in that cornerback room for so long, and now he's making the move, and automatically, here you are, you're a leader in the group. Now go help these other guys figure it out. So I guess starting with that part of it, he and Bryson Jackson are going to be battling at the star position, and I think that's really intriguing. AJ McCarty's 5'11", 190 pounds. Bryson Jackson is 6'2", 204 pounds. These are two guys who seem like they're going to play extremely different. AJ probably going to be better in coverage. Bryson, a much better pass rusher. I think it's really going to come down to the little things. And can AJ prove that he can stop the run? Can Bryson prove that at least in zone coverages, he's going to be really effective? I think those are some of the questions that we have going into this. But I think either way, both could find themselves on the field quite a bit. At this time, I would anticipate Bryson being the guy who gets more of the snaps. But I like the fact that AJ's talking about this competition, talking about how this group in general, not just the star position, but in general has a higher ceiling than they did a year before. And I actually agree with that. Al Walcott, he was banged up early in the season. There were high expectations for him, but he just really, there wasn't a super high ceiling with him. He's not the greatest athlete, not the fastest guy. You were just hoping that his instincts, his physicality would take over. And I think his injury early in the year hurt that. Now, the other two guys, Christian Morgan and Devin Neal, to me, two really good athletes who aren't great at football. And you hate saying that, but if you watch them play, they just play so much slower than their speed and athleticism would tell you. And so I think losing those guys and bringing in guys like Corey Gordon, Devin Bobby, Alfonso Allen, I think that injection of talent and youth could really pay dividends to this defense. And I think that's what AJ McCarty is talking about as well. Just that simple fact that, hey, we got a lot of young guys that are hungry. We got a lot of guys that just want to figure out ways to win football games and not worry about their playing time, not worry about anything else other than finding a way to win games. I think that's a really important mindset to have with Matthew Pallage coming in to coach this group and coach the defense as a whole. So yeah, very fascinating. I think the only thing we can really take away as far as, other ramifications, I think it's pretty obvious that at this point, Devin Lemire seems like the leader in this room, seems like a guy who's going to have a starting role in this group. It seems like Bryson Jackson will at least have a role. Whether that's starting or not, we'll see who wins the battle between he and AJ McCarty. But outside of that, it's a lot of questions, but I got to say I feel a lot better about the talent based on some of the things we've heard, based on some of the things that Pallage said and that AJ McCarty said. And so now I think for AJ, it's all about kind of taking that next step in his progression and seeing if he can really gel and fit in at the new position at the star spot. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining. This has been Quick Hit Bears.